Okay, hi guys, my name is Jing and I'm from Group 9. Here we would like to present our presentations and I will take part in presenting the introductions of our assignment, the definitions of the theory of moral panic, meaning of pedophiles, and the background of the theory. Okay, first, this assignment is to review articles focused on the theory of moral panic and pedophiles that emphasize to bring out the contents of moral panic. Okay, move to the definitions of moral panic. Okay, moral panic is a theory where is projecting moral panic through public mass movement, a mass movement based on the thought and exaggerated conception that some cultural behavior or a group of persons threatening society's value and interests. Okay, moral panic is a widespread fear, most often an irrational one, that someone or something is threat to the value, safety, and interest of communities or societies at large. Okay, moral panic is typically perpetuated by the new media, and moral panic can thus help to boost social control. Okay, commonly moral panic can negatively, which is spreading fright, terror, fear, whereas positively moral panic is triggering social concerns, value, interest, and safety over an issue. Okay, next, what is pedophile? Okay, pedophilia, also called pedophilic disorder and pedophilia disorder. Consequently, pedophile is where the person's psychiatric diagnosed mental disorder which they have sexual interest or behavior toward the children. Some who have a sexual preference for underage teenager, and here have some terms of pedophiles that have misunderstanding. People will misunderstanding between pedophile and child abuse, and under the age of 16, who have sexual preference to younger children is not considered as pedophile. Okay, the term pedophile has two extremely misleading connotations. Pedophile is a lunch of children rather a love of them. They are no useful matter to determine who is pedophile. Okay, pedophile can simply explain that the people over 16 that have sexual preference for underage teenager. Okay, move to the background of theory. Moral panic theories begins in the earliest days of a symbolic interactional wing of Chicago School of Sociology prior to the Second World War. Okay, Wallen noted that social problems begin with real enough features, but those who were amplified by emotional public reactions, which were capitalized on by politicians and others who became moral crusaders and moral entrepreneurs. Okay, with sociology, Stanley Cohen's popular Rise moral panic theory after studying the Yangtze audience split between Mood and Rocker in broad daylight in the seaside tower of England in 1916. The last is Gordon and Bin Yehuda latest reinforced this theory by adding that in moral panic, social problems are constructed in such a way that they become linked to politically weak group and threatens a politically valuable group. Okay, based on Stanley Coven's view, terms panic and moral panic is unfortunate, though because it is out of control and has a connotations with irrationally. Okay, Cohen also mentions that sometimes the objective or event of the panic is quite novel, and at other time it is something which has been existence long enough but suddenly appear in limelight. Okay, Cohen also mentioned in free moral defectiveness issues, a folk devil as divines of a particular social group has been created in media reporting and stigmatized by society. Okay, here folk devils are people who are socially defined or accused of posing a harm to society according to the terminology of moral panic research. Okay, they are simply the personifications of a bad guy and are cast as antagonists in moral panic drama. Okay, that's all for me, and I will switch to my member. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mokowei. After that, I will introduce the second models, which called Goodit and Ben Yehuda's model that was included in their books. That's called Moral Panics, the Social Construction of Deviance. In the Goodit and Yehuda second models books, they was defined the five crucial elements of a moral panic, which the first one is concern. The concern was constructed by media coverage and lobbying activity, can create a heightened level of concern over the behavior of a certain group or category. And the second one is hostility. Hostility towards the category of people seen as engaging in the threatening behavior was created that uh, the category was seen as deviants, that's who are collectively designated as the enemy that was harmful and threatening to the society. And the third one is consensus. The consensus was designated was the designated segments of the society that the threat is real and serious, which the Davis was constructing as the fundamental to moral panics. And in the consensus, the public has the mindset will perceive the threatening such as child abuse, street crime, and so on is real and serious, and it was very very important to give very much attention for it. Okay, the number four is disproportionality. Most of the figures cited by moral panics claims the makers are widely exaggerated, such as the public concern is in excess of what is appropriate if concern were directly proportional to objective harm. The statistics were exaggerated, maybe fabricated by the moral entrepreneurs, and the existence of other equally or more harmful activity is divided by the moral entrepreneurs too. And disproportionality often used by moral claims makers. Okay, the fifth one is volatility. The volatility can seem as the same issue may be recur, but the individual panic was subjectively sustained for long term, because the public the public concern is cannot is never can be sustainably on a same issue in long term. It can be changed in every time. And central to this model is plans making about the problem, who make the claims, how and why. After that, Goody and Yahudas also combine these five crucial elements in three competing explanation of moral panic, such as the first one is the grassroots model. There was identify the sources of panic as widespread anxieties about the real or emerging threats. The second one is the elite engineer model. There was an engineer group manipulates panic over an issue that they know to be exaggerated in order to divert attention from their own inability or unwillingness to solve a social problem. The third one is interest group theory. That was argues that the middle rungs of power and status are where moral issues they were most acutely felt, and the consequences of moral panics are twofold. And the next part is literature review. The moral panic models in previous review and research. One of the researcher about the moral panics, such as Charles Richer, was defined the Stanley Cohen's model as a processual model, and the Goody and Ben Yehuda's model defined as attribunal model. Richer also have do the comparison between the two models and define the similarities and the differences between the models. About the similarities between the two models, the Cohen's models and the Goody and Ben Yehuda's models. The first similarity between the models is moral panics are an extreme form of more general process by which social problems are constructed in public arenas. The second one is the moral panics occur often and repeatedly in modern society, and it was never been ended, and it will happen oftenly in many times of modern societies. And the third one is moral panics has sociological function as reaffirming the pure value of the society. About the differences between the two models, Creature also have defined the three main issues to make the differences between the two models. Which the first one is how they assess the role of media. Okay, the Stanley Cohen's or called as processual model. Uh, in the processual model, Stanley Cohen's model was emphasized the role of media. There was the media are strategic in the formation of moral panics, and maybe the prime movers or enders others already campaigning, and the media is always actively involved in these moral panic issues. And the second one is In contrast, the Ben Yehuda's and the Goody models, which can call as attributional model, the media plays a much more passive role lah. In the first issue, how they assess the role of media, the media role in Stanley Cohen's model is actively, and in contrast, the Goody and Ben Yehuda models, the media role is passively. And the second one is the second issue is the most important edges in moral panics. In Stanley Cohen's model, state agencies, politicians and legislators does not merely react to moral panics, but rather the frequently complicit in their construction. But in the Goody and Ben Yehuda's models, the second models, they place so much more emphasis on the strategies adopted by the placemaker, and they also emphasize their ability to galvanize the public opinion about their case is crucial. And the third issue is how conceptualize the language of moral panics. In Stanley Cohen's model, he emphasized the moral panics as activating ideological discourses such as those around law and also order. But in contrast, the Stanley and Ben Yehuda's models, they emphasize on their rhetoric and claims making, such like how the campaigners adopt particular styles of argument about the moral panic issues. In addition, Preacher also proposed 6 main criticisms of the moral panics models. That two models are the Stan Cohen's models and the Goody and Ben Yehuda's models, which the first one is loose terminology. Okay, the loose terminology was explained that health or food scarce or the child abuse case, the such of issues are or not moral is to be subjective. The moral issues is very subjectively lah. The issues it was vague or it was fluid. That almost any issues can be moralized and can be threatening to the society, and it was represent the irrationality to people who may be generally and logically concern the issues. And the issues is never very clear that who is doing the panicking. Is it the media, the government, the public, or who is panicking actually? The second criticism is about disproportionality that was fundamentally on the ability to demonstrate that a response to perceived social evil there has been or is disproportionate. The principal difficulty about a moral panic lies in establishing the comparison between the scale of the problem, and the second one is the scale to respond the moral panic issues. Okay, the third criticism is outdatedness because the models is reflected the British political system, the cultural assumptions, and the media structures at that time. Compare with the fragmentation in the mass niche and micromedia in nowadays, it's very big difference lah. And the original and revised models are outdated, and if unable to determine the relation which now exists between social groups and the media, the reality and the representation. And the number 4 is rigidity. That's explained that the two models is very rigid and doesn't permit any variation in the process or even outcomes. There was only those events that approximate to the model are recognized as moral panic. And the number 5 is political partisanship. That was very related about bias. There was about moral panic is too readily become a term of political abuse, and it was a way to discrediting conservative claims makers, and this lack of hand disguises essentially political judgment as intellectual ones. And in this context, the moral panic issues is become the rhetoric of the politicians among the politicians towards the general information consumers or even the societies. The number 6 is assumed media effects that the creature critique the two model of moral panic scholars that they assume the public was fully accept and fully easily persuaded by the information was given by the media, and the scholars also assume the public doesn't have any knowledge or any logical thinking about the information they have received.
Pedophile and mass media in moral panic. How public see male and female as stereotypically public see male as strong, powerful, masculine, while for the females they see them as powerless, petite, and also fragile, who could not resist to the person that are stronger than them. Therefore, the male pedophiles take the chances to kidnap and conduct sexual activity with the female children. The only reliable generalization regarding pedophile is that they tend to be male. but they are female child abusers too. Next, the pedophile incidents create nerve waves in the society and people are afraid of their children's safety. For example, the police arrested a 39-year-old man in Kelang, Selangor on 14 December 2022 because the man possessed a large amount of child pornography on his laptop. According to the international authorities' reports that provides to the police, there are more than 90,000 IP addresses of suspects involved in sharing child pornography over the internet from 2017 to March this year, 2022. This intensive amount of suspects are concerning by the public, as number of suspects could be said that almost everybody can be sexually interested in children. Therefore, these recent incidents can be classified as moral panic in pedophiles. Secondly, media plays a crucial role because they create moral panic because of orientations, images, causations. Media creates process or coded images of the deviants and deviants because public will fear their child or themselves to become the next victim because of the media can control the public easily to directions to the pedophiles. According to the Creature, there are 25 headlines in a month that discuss about the child molester and pedophiles in one newspaper. The role of the news of the world has been promoting moral panic over the pedophiles because, according to the Creature's point, he says that the examinations of newspaper coverage is the clearest way of showing how the panic in.
Now I'm going to talk about 5 elements that influence public perceived pedophile in moral panic. Media is one of the elements that influence public perceived pedophile in moral panic because it plays an important role of create a statement that can turn it into the news. This may lead to moral panic. In general, media holds the power in dissemination of information. It also shaping the public perception and opinion. For example, majority of pedophiles are men, so people are anxious when there is a new reported that there are pedophiles that exist around them and are afraid of all of the men that approach their child. Media and the public have a symbiotic relationship in which the media creates stories and voices out the viewpoint of the public. This leads to the suggestion that the media has both functions in producing and reporting the news. Next, the second element is audience. Audience is a significant part of media receiver and spread the news with their own perspective, and it will cause more panic. The information and news about pedophiles that have been produced through media has suddenly influenced the audience perception towards pedophile. The media affected the audience understanding of pedophile. For example, audience might think that there is no difference between pedophiles and child sexual abuse, but not every person who sexually abuses children is pedophiles, and some pedophiles never abuse children. The third element is culture of fear. The physiological and psychological experiences of fear may cause the culture of fear that increase the anxiety in social and cause moral panic. For an example, if a victim of pedophile was sexually abused by a tourist in certain village, the villagers will forbid another tourist to visit their village. The pedophile can cause culture of fear in moral panic.
The third element that we found in this research is deviant. To most people, the term deviant are pejorative and condemnatory. Due to the widespread use of the term pedophiles in the media, people's perception toward pedophile has been misled by the media into thinking pedophiles were deviant. Pedophiles tend to suffer from higher levels of social introversion, sensitivity, loneliness, and depression, with poorer interrelationship as well as social skill, leading them to feel that they are socially isolated. Based on the article we review, we know that pedophiles will face self-stigmatism, which will have a significant impact on their well-being and even lead to mental health disease. These issues are significant because it has significant implications for public health, as the pedophiles are unwilling to come forward to access mental health support because of doubt over whether those professionals offering treatment without any judgment towards them. It increased the moral panic among society because the pedophiles are unwilling to receive psychological counseling due to the judgment that society gives to them, and this will bring to the worst situation as more incidents arise in society. The last element that we found in this research is politic, authority, and claims maker. Politic refers to the distribution and exercise of power within a society. A central point is that some individuals and groups in a society have more power than others. Public concern and action about certain issues rise and fall in part of political ideology and moral reason. Politics is one of the main factors that leads to moral panic, as politics play a central role in controlling a society's attitude and social trends. Politicians may make speeches about particular issues and generate concern in the public that a problem exists where none was previously suspected. The government has the authority to against the media by publishing unfiltered news concerning pedophiles in order to alleviate moral panic in society. But instead of doing this, the government has spread fear through the media in order to cover up its own inadequacies.
Okay, I will continue with the theoretical framework model. Okay, my group was define the 5 crucial elements in our framework in our research lah. Okay, the first one is pedophiles. The pedophiles was defined as deviant in our social context, and the deviance was created the image with fault labels and they may face self-estimation and feel excluded by the society because the society was stigmatized their image, and they most of them will refuse to uh, the get the medical treatment. And the second is the audience. The audience is play the role as collective response and information consumer, and the most of the audience was subjectively driven by the misunderstand towards the pedophile, and they will perceive the message about the pedophiles and give the relatively response about the information of what they perceive. And the third one is culture of fear. The culture of fear is about the emotion of fear is subjectively experienced the most of the information seeker or information receiver. And the number 4 is mass media. Mass media in our theoretical framework was playing a role with promoting and spreading moral panic over the pedophiles towards to information receivers and society. And the number 5 is authority, politician, and class makers. These three uh, these three characters is helps the authority keep neglecting the social problems in the long term, and it will lead to a longer degree of moral panic.
Conceptualized variables means forming an idea, principle, or concept. It has 2 definitions. First one is operational definitions. It has 2 parts of meaning. Measure parts describing how variables will be measured, while the experimental part spells out the details of investigators' manipulations of variables. Next, for the constitutive definitions, is a definition that defines a construct with other construct. Reviewing all the articles about the moral panic in pedophiles, there are 5 main key variables that can be found. First is the independent variable, which is mass media, while for the dependent variable is the receiver or audience. This is because mass media is creating news that is sent out to the receivers. The process between the 2 variables is moderating variables, which is the culture of fear that affect the relationships between the 2 variables, because it can explain why pedophiles create moral panic that make chaos among the public. Adding on, the mediating variable is the pedophile that mediates the 2 variables relationships. This is because pedophiles constantly triggering the 2 variables, which is the mass media and the receivers. Furthermore, for the control variable is authorities, politicians, and claim makers, because they can affect public perceptions due to their speeches or announcements of all the parties, will eventually influence the publicity's perspective and judgment. Last but not least, all the variables are imperative in their own role for the researchers to understand and interpret the research studies in mass communication.